Hi everybody, it's Zeri, Persian pen name on AO3. I'm here once again to read you stories. This week is going to be an interesting one because I'm finally starting to delve into the Good Omens fandom, which is my primary fandom. It's what I do most of my writing for. A great deal of my reading. Read a lot. I'm also moving on from the stories of folks, that I know who have hung out in my house, uh, or my spouse, who is not here right now because he doesn't like to be on video. To folks that I know primarily from online. One of these is Tarek, Giver of Cookies. We've known each other for a couple of years. We met on an artist's Patreon Discord server, uh, and then now we're on several together. One of the things that she likes to give me shit for is collecting bones. Uh, we live out on a ranch, just a cattle ranch. We're in Texas. We're living the stereotype. Um, but we're not like it's not like a factory farm where they're all crowded in little buildings, etc. And like no, there's 400 some odd acres, and they wander around, they do their thing. But we do have predation. There's coyotes, there's mountain lion. There's at least one mountain lion. My sister-in-law saw it one time Christmas morning, not this last year, but a couple years back. There's wild hogs. There are predators, is what I'm saying. There's drunk Texans with guns, unfortunately. Luckily, we haven't had to deal with that one too much. So anyway, what I'm saying is, I find bones when we're out in the pasture. It happens. Um, and I take them home because they're neat. I like bones. So before I read this week's story, I'm just going to show off a couple of my bones for Tarek. I've got my rattlesnake earrings on. I made these myself. Uh, Not from a snake that was on our property. I picked up these bones on Etsy. Um, I've got this is probably the nicest quality of skull that I've got. This is, there we go, coyote skull. That was a gift from a friend one Christmas. Got a bit of fuzz on him. He's the one who usually lives inside. His mouth does not open. It has been glued shut. He is yellower than my other bones, but that's because he still has a lot of his moisture in there. And his teeth are very pretty. Look at how shiny and white they are. So he lives with my cactuses. And then I've got another little one that lives around with my cactuses. This is cow vertebrae. I like that it has this little heart on there. It's nice. Also, kind of looks like a plane. So I've got a bunch of these, like a bunch. Most of them live outside because we live with my mother-in-law, and you know, bones are an outside thing for her. And then this one is one of my favorites. This is a cow skull. There we go. Get them all in. There we go. Um, it's actually a calf skull. He was one of our calves who did not make it. Um, we found him out by the pond. Uh, we don't know what got him. Probably coyotes. A coyote or a calf is good eating for coyotes if they can get it. And of course, the mama cows are gonna try very hard to make sure that they can't, but circle of life, that's how it goes. You can tell he was going to have horns. Um, our herd is split between horned and pawled. Fun fact: pawled cattle only exist in beef breeds or things that have been bred with beef breeds. It's not something you'll see in dairy cows. So when you see a dairy cow that doesn't have any horns, it usually means that they were disbudded after birth, which is basically where when they're very, very, very young, like first couple days, and they don't have a lot of nerves there. Um, they get a little circle thing and they burn off this area right around where it will grow, and that means that the horn won't grow because it's not going to get fed blood. It's not going to get any bigger. You just get a little nubbin. That's about it. Which is safer for the people who are handling the dairy animals. They're not going to knock into each other and accidentally hurt each other because dairy animals are kept much closer together than beef cattle. So there you go. Go live over there. So that's a safety issue for them. It's not immoral in any kind of way. We actually have a couple of our horned cattle who we've got one line where they grow these weird skurs. Skurs are where the horn doesn't grow correctly. It's like something is happening. It's just not right. We've got one line where one of our guys, his horn on this side, it dangles. It doesn't really attach right. Like, it's still attached to his head and all like that. The bone is there and it's fine, but the horn actually is hollow. Like, you'll see drinking horns, and it's because they come like that, and it just kind of fits over the bone extrusion, and so that if something happens and it gets knocked loose, the horn can shed, and then it'll just grow a new one, and that's fine. But this guy, there's something about the connections from the skin to the horn. It's just very loose there. And so, like, his horn is healthy. It's fine. It's just kind of, flops around. And a couple of his kids have that. But honestly, if that's the worst thing that they got going, that's not bad. So, and he's one of our big bulls. I like him. That's Schmebulok. I like him. We've got another lady who, she had a thing where her horn was growing down, and it was trying to grow like this. And that's not good. You don't want that, because then they start growing like this, and then, it's health issues. So these are good reasons why horns might be removed. This is not what I started to make this video about. Anyway, yes, I'm here to read fic. So, nope, that is not the window that has the fic in it. There we go. Alright, so. Lubricate the throat. What week am I on? Is this week 5? I think this is week 5. It sounds like week 5. Still taking testosterone, still enjoying it. Have not noticed any voice or facial changes. Still got a lot of acne going on because I'm wearing a mask. Not right now. Right now I'm at home. I'm not even wearing a bra. Y'all can deal. But when I'm at work, every time I have to wear pants, bra and a mask. So. But I'm at home now, so I don't have to do any of that. Alright. Anyway, here to read fic. Not here to blather. A little bit here to blather. Alright. You know what? I'm going to come over here. I'm going to be my buddy. There we go. I don't even know if that's visible at all. It's not. That's okay. I'll put you over here. There we go. Now I got a little friend to read to. So, this story is called Cake Pops by Tarek Giver of Cookies. It's rated teen and up. It has no archive warnings. It's in the Good Omens fandom, both TV or book, depending on how you like it. The relationship is Aziraphale and Crowley. The tags are Alternate Universe Flower Shop, Alternate Universe Bakery, Alternate Universe Human, Panic Attacks, Mild Blood, Mild Hurt Comfort, Couple's First Fight, Anxious Aziraphale, Anxious Crowley. Crowley's always anxious. I've got the hiccups now. Crowley loves Aziraphale. Aziraphale loves Crowley. Aziraphale puts his foot in his mouth. Aziraphale panics really, really hard in this, based on my own nightmare, where I got to experience both of their panic attacks. It was not fun. But this is a bittersweet ending, I promise. I'm sorry you had a nightmare, Tarek. Summary. Crowley has a plan. Aziraphale loves baking and loves cake pops, especially the ones he makes himself. Only, it backfires on them both when Aziraphale says something stupid. Also, I haven't tried to do either of their voices before, so this will be fun. I'm gonna be having a time. We'll see if I end up settling on a voice that I like for either of them. Probably not. Alright, let's go. Aziraphale had left Crowley's shop in a huff that morning. Now he was focusing on baking. The bell above the door jingled, and Aziraphale glanced up from the counter where he had been pulling the day-old cupcakes out of the display. Aziraphale noticed that Crowley didn't look him in the eye, but he felt his lips twitch in a little smile and a blush painting his cheekbones. He turned away instead of answering the unspoken question in that blush, busying himself by fluffing the sweetener packets. He turned back to look at Crowley, waiting for him to start the conversation. He had started the fight. It only seemed fair. Instead of saying anything, Crowley dropped to his knees in front of the register. Aziraphale started and opened his mouth to say something when Crowley piped up in a falsetto, "Might I have a cake pop, sir?" Aziraphale fought a giggle as they grinned at each other. Why, of course, my dear. Chocolate?" Crowley grinned and nodded. A child giggled near his left shoulder, and he turned to smile at her. "Me too!" she demanded, as Aziraphale continued to smash day-old cupcakes in a mixing bowl with frosting. "Of course," he replied warmly. Crowley smiled at Aziraphale's tone. The little girl from earlier piped up. "Why are you breaking the cupcakes?" Aziraphale smiled. "I'm not breaking them. I'm making them into something new." The little girl nods sagely. Aziraphale melts some chocolate and pours it into a tall mug. He makes a ball of the cupcake crumbs mixed with frosting and shoves it onto a paper stick. Crowley smiles. He loves watching Aziraphale bake. He seems so relaxed making sweets. Crowley kept mum, still on his knees, as another child asked a question about cake pops. "Why do you use old cupcakes?" "It makes them taste better," Aziraphale replied, dipping the first completed ball in the chocolate. Crowley is awfully silent. "Why do you dip them in chocolate?" another child asks. Aziraphale placed the finished cake pop on a drying rack. Crowley shifted on his knees. There was a small crowd of children growing from the impromptu cake pop lesson. "Well, I like chocolate," Aziraphale replied, having made 3 cake pops and working on the 4th. Aziraphale heard Crowley shift once more. Maybe I should say something shocking. But what? Another little voice piped up. "What do you use the cake pops for?" Aziraphale smiles, a huge, ridiculous lie on the tip of his tongue. "Oh, well, you can use them to tell someone to leave and never come back." Silence falls. Aziraphale doesn't realize at first because he was dipping the cake pop. I'm kidding, of course. They're just... He turns around and Crowley has gone. Aziraphale drops the chocolate and the cake pops. It falls to the floor, shattering and splattering. He takes off down the street. Crowley was nervous. He hadn't talked to Aziraphale since their fight, so he decided to be silly and get a giggle out of his angel. He would get on his knees and order something silly, a cake pop, and watch Aziraphale make it. And then he'd give it back as an apology. He knows Aziraphale will secretly eat 6 or more of them when no one's looking. After the bell jingled and Crowley set his plan in motion, Crowley ignored his knees and enjoyed the plan. He smiled as Aziraphale gathered his supplies to make cake pops. Fussy angel, he thought with a smile, a warm feeling spreading in his chest. Crowley relaxed. Plan worked great. First fight over. He mentally patted himself on the back. Knees hurt, though. He shifted on his knees. He hadn't thought about the getting up part of the plan. Should I get up when he hands me the cake pop? Now? Fuck. He listened to Aziraphale banter with the children. He wasn't paying close attention to what he was saying, distracted by Aziraphale's hands as they steadily made the sweets. Then a child asked what cake pops were for. Aziraphale starts to smile, or sorry, Crowley starts to smile because Aziraphale typically said, "Cake pops are for eating, of course," but instead he says, "To leave and never come back?" His ears turned off. He wasn't aware a sense could suddenly stop working, but that's what happened to his ears, filled with the sound of the ocean, melded with the scream of electrical wires. Crowley assumed he got up. He was walking, stumbling down the street, back to his flower shop. "I'm tired. My chest hurts and I'm tired." He can leave. Aziraphale asked him to leave and never come back. Apology not accepted, obviously. He made it to the door and stared at it. Right, not an automatic door. He stumbled into his shop. Anathema was sitting at the register. Good, shop was safe. She might have said something. He couldn't hear it. He made his way to his flat. Up the stairs. Hello, bed. Shoes off. No shoes in bed. Pillow. The pillow is soft. He holds the pillow, curling around it. He lays on his bed and feels numb. Sleep is good. Aziraphale is not a runner, but he's running now. He knows where Crowley's shop is, but he always walked with Crowley to get there. He takes 3 wrong turns. Finally, he recognizes the street and runs to the shop. Anathema is standing in the middle of the shop floor with a cell phone in her hand. "What did you do?" she hisses. Aziraphale barely sees her, but stops, panting. "Is he here?" "What the fuck did you do, Aziraphale?" "I have to apologize. I have to say I'm sorry. Is he here, please?" Anathema glares at him. "Why should I tell you? Please, I need to know he's safe. Please. Even if he doesn't want to see me, I need to know he's safe." Aziraphale is breathing harder and crying. Anathema sighs. "You two are made for each other." He's upset. Aziraphale runs up the stairs. He slips and knocks over a pot, falling. He gets back up, runs up the stairs. Crowley's bedroom is the last one at the end of the hallway. The door is open. He stumbles in. Crowley is curled in a ball on his bed. Aziraphale stumbles to the side of the bed and tries to find Crowley's hand. Crowley blinks at him. "Shoes," he mutters. Crowley falls back asleep. Aziraphale tries to take off his shoes, hissing in pain. "Crowley asked me to take off my shoes." He feels his hand throb. It hurts. Just do it. It hurts to take off his shoes, and he can't see. He blinks. Aziraphale looks at Crowley through his tears. Crowley continues to sleep. Aziraphale grabs a hold of the blanket and sobs, kneeling at the side of the bed. Poor babies. Anathema glared as the door opened again. Newt stood in the doorway, looking frazzled. "He's here?" Anathema sighed. "Yes, and he looks just as bad." Newt pulled a chair up next to Anathema. "He really put his foot in it." Anathema raised an eyebrow. "Oh?" "Told him to leave and never come back." "What?" Anathema stiffened. "Worst part is, I think he meant it as a joke," Newt admitted, thinking of the look on Aziraphale's face when he said it. "What kind of fucked up joke is that?" Anathema replied, confused. "I have no idea." Newt looked through the doorway leading to the upstairs flat. Wait. He looked at the floor in confusion. "Is that plant supposed to be on the floor?" "No, it's a ficus. I guess one of them knocked it over." Newt walked over to the plant on the floor to pick it up and gasped. "What?" "There's glass shards and blood," he whispered. "Oh, God damn it," Anathema growled. Crowley hurt. His chest hurt. Aziraphale had told him to leave and never come back. He didn't understand. It wasn't a big fight. Aziraphale had been annoyed that Crowley had eaten the last cupcake in the fridge, stomped off to his shop, but... Crowley opened his eyes. Aziraphale was crouched on the floor next to the bed, his fists tangled in his black sheets. What was he doing here? And Crowley looked at Aziraphale more closely. His curls were plastered to his head. His face was red and blotchy. There was dirt on his pants legs, and his shoes were off. Aziraphale? Aziraphale leapt up, or tried to. He lurched forward, scrambling to grab Crowley's hand while sobbing. Crowley just sat. His chest still hurt from his earlier panic, but he was currently just confused. "Aziraphale, breathe." Aziraphale nodded and took shuddering breaths. Crowley didn't know why Aziraphale was crying so hard. Why are you crying? You told me to leave. Aziraphale started sobbing again. Crowley blinked in confusion. Did you not say leave and never come back? He leaned closer. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Aziraphale was practically chanting it, and Crowley grew concerned. Hey, look at me. Aziraphale couldn't. His hands were buried in the sheets. Crowley looked more closely. The sheet in his right hand was wet. Why was it wet? He reached over and touched Aziraphale's right hand. Aziraphale flinched. Crowley pressed his hand to the sheets next to Aziraphale's right hand, as a sneaking suspicion formed. Let me see your hand, Crowley whispered. Aziraphale complied, still sobbing. Crowley gently pulled the sheet out of Aziraphale's hand and hissed. It was soaked in blood. Aziraphale, what did you do? Aziraphale looked at his hand. Blood was still seeping slowly from his palm. His sobs lessened as he stared at his hand. Crowley decided for him. Let's get that cleaned up. Aziraphale nodded and followed as Crowley led him to the bathroom. Crowley ran his hand under warm water and his whole body shuddered. It hurt so much. He tried to keep still. Don't make it worse. You're here to apologize. Don't make it worse. Don't make it worse. Aziraphale? Don't make it worse. You hurt him. Don't make it worse. You need to apologize. Aziraphale? Don't make it worse. You wanted to know he was okay. He's okay. He's fine. Angel! Aziraphale turned to face Crowley. He blinked. His hand was clean and bandaged. He couldn't speak. His throat felt clogged. Shh, shh. Drink this. Aziraphale blinked stupidly at the offered glass of water. Crowley tried to gently clean Aziraphale's hand. He had obviously broken a pot. There were shards of blue glass in his palm. Crowley grabbed his tweezers and was about to tell Aziraphale to relax, but his eyes were completely glazed over. Crowley shuddered. That must hurt. As quickly as possible, he cleaned up Aziraphale's hand and dried it. He wrapped it carefully in gauze. He didn't think it needed stitches, but the bleeding had begun again while he was cleaning. Aziraphale? No response. Did he pass out from blood loss? No, he was standing. Aziraphale? Still no response. Angel? He whispered. Oh God, please. Angel! He finally shouted. Aziraphale blinked at him. He looked like he was about to panic again, so Crowley hurriedly filled a glass of water. Shh, here, drink this. Aziraphale stared at the glass of water like he had never seen one before in his life. Okay, then. Angel, I need you to drink this water. Aziraphale started reaching out with his bandaged hand. Crowley stopped him gently. Other hand, Angel. Crowley slowly sipped the water Crowley had given him. Aziraphale slowly sipped the water Crowley had given him. His mind had finally stopped screaming. He finished the water and looked around for somewhere to set the glass. Crowley took the glass from him gently. There was a knock on the door to the bathroom, though it was open. Yes, Crowley replied. Newt poked his head in. We cleaned up the blood. Aziraphale looked at his hand as if seeing the bandage for the first time. Crowley and Newt shared looks of alarm. Crowley shook his head, too tired to convey with words how bad Aziraphale suddenly seemed to be. Newt nodded and left. Aziraphale watched Newt leave, but he couldn't respond. He couldn't look at Crowley. His mind was full of static. He had to say something. Open your mouth and say something, you fool. Aziraphale felt Crowley snake his arm around him. Angel, we don't have to talk until you calm down. He nodded. He hurt everywhere. No talking. Got it. Do what he wants. Make him happy. Let's go to bed, Crowley whispered. Aziraphale shuffled up with him. Crowley pulled them both into bed and pulled the covers up. Aziraphale held himself stiffly, guilt gnawing at him. Make him happy. Make him better. You hurt him. Make it better. Crowley huffed a watery chuckle. No, none of that. You come here and snuggle. We have to have a big talk in the morning. But right now... Aziraphale finally looked him in the eye. Crowley's eyes were shining from unshed tears. Aziraphale knew his matched. Just want to hold you, Angel, he finally admitted, his voice cracking. Aziraphale snuggled into Crowley's chest, exhausted. Make it better in the morning. They both drifted quickly off to sleep. Quickly drifted. The end. So, I really like this story. It's very sweet. It feels. I've had these dumb times, like, I say dumb times. I've had these kind of times where both people involved are. It's not anybody's fault. It's just, sometimes these are things that happen with people. Sometimes folks hit on each other's weak spots without realizing it, and then, you know, then both people end up hurt, and you got to try and work your way through it, and it's difficult. Me and spouse have had some hard times, and we've always come through it so far. It's pretty nice. Uh, and we've come through better communicators, and that's good. And I like that. So I really like. I can see what's going to happen in the future in this one, and I think that they're going to come out better communicators too, and that's really nice. I like this book. Uh, so that's the pick for this week. I really enjoyed it. Links, as always, will be in the doobly doo. I hope that you all enjoyed it too, and enjoyed my little friends here. And I will see you next week.